Our talk today is entitled, Treat and Move Your Feet. We are preaching to the choir because most of you are very familiar with treatment. Ernest Holmes said, treatment is the art, the act, and the science of consciously inducing thought within the universal subjectivity for the purpose of demonstrating that we are surrounded by a creative medium which responds to us through the law of correspondence. In its more simple meaning, treatment is the time, process, and method necessary to the changing of our thought. Treatment is clearing the thought of negation, of doubt and fear, and causing it to perceive the ever-presence of God. Beautiful words. We say it is scientific because it utilizes the scientific process of questioning. Pose a question. My question for this little experiment is, how can I experience greater peace? But insert whatever word you desire for today, for this time in your life. You pose the question, you rephrase it as a statement with and that is called the purpose. And then in the scientific process, we move on to the hypothesis. That is saying what we think is possible and why we think that. For mine, I would say, yes, I believe I can experience greater peace. And I believe this because there have been times that I have felt more peaceful than other times. So I believe that that which I feel in one moment is possible in another moment, in all moments. And then we move on to the experiment itself, which encompasses the materials, which would simply be God, you, thought, not that they're separate, but that's all there is to it. And the procedure, the steps I am going to take are the 5 steps of treatment. We gather our data through practice of treatment. We come up with our results and then our conclusion. Yes, it is possible. And I know this because as I've collected data, I've noticed that the more I practice, the more peace I have in my life, the more I'm able to move into that mental way of thinking. And then finally, in the scientific method, the application. The application I teach my students is, who cares? Well, our answer for this one is everyone. It's about real life. Why would we perform this experiment in the first place? Perhaps just for ourselves, but perhaps a greater idea of that could be world peace for this particular question. In neuroscience, we would say that treatment is the process of creating a new synapse and forming pathways of new dendrites to connect the desired outcome. And in quantum, of course, we would say that treatment is for the purpose of collapsing waves of possibility that align with our desired outcome. In science of mind, our treatment is 5 steps, a 5-step process of affirmative and scientific prayer, used to realign our personal thought with the thought of God, with truth. It aligns our thought by bringing us back to what we call right thinking. And that right thinking is the knowing of our oneness with the indwelling spirit that has never been separate from us except within our own minds. So the 5 steps. Recognition, and this is recognition of the ultimate limitless presence and power in the universe, followed by unification, which is acceptance that you and God are one. That which God is acts through you, as you, in you, and in all of life. The 3rd step is realization, sometimes called declaration, and it's coming to the point of an inner knowing without any doubt, without any reservation, that the good that you desire to experience is now taking form through the power of God. It is knowing and accepting Your desire is complete and accepting it. The fourth step is thanksgiving. Thankfully accepting the good you desire is yours right now, and in the mind of God it is. Then it's followed by release, which is letting go of your word to the activity of the universal law of mind, freeing yourself of any and all concern, and releasing in total belief that it is done. Your word is done. And we follow these steps with the words, and so it is. The words, and so it is, let us release our treatment out of our own hands, out of our own small me ideas. And we release them with a total conviction. We have convinced our own mind. We believe and we know what we desire is already done. Spiritual mind treatment is stated as personal, as positive, as powerful, and in the present moment, with a goal of gaining clarity in thinking that guides our action to be consistent with our desired outcome, so that our mind is operating in a way that tells us what to do and when to do it and how to do it, or to simply be. It sets off a new chain of causation in mind, in law, that leads one to act according to the good for which one is treating. Treatment convinces us of the absolute spiritual truth by turning entirely away from the condition, that which I was talking about previously, and focusing on the outcome as if it has already happened. Ernest Holmes wrote, effective treatment convinces the mind that our life is some part of God and that the Spirit is incarnated in us, accompanied by an unqualified faith in a law that we now understand works for us as we work with it.
I think probably everybody here has heard that story about the 3 boats and a helicopter. Your Reader's Digest to refresh your minds on it anyway, but the flood is arising around a man's house, and as he's standing there watching the flood rise, a canoe comes by to offer help, a boat comes along to offer help, a yacht comes along with help, and finally on his tippy toes he's standing on the top of his chimney, and a helicopter comes to offer to help, and he says, no, I'm fine, God will take care of me. And eventually he succumbs to the flood, gets to heaven and says, God, why didn't you not take care of me? So I sent you 3 boats and a helicopter, what more do you want? The point of that whole thing is the idea that there is something that we must do in the process. We know that God will take care of us, but there is action that we must take as well. You know, not everyone who comes to your door, particularly at this time of year, is an official messenger from God, regardless of how they look. God doesn't intervene or lead or coax or demand or suggest or advise or advocate or decide anything for us. Free will means it's up to us to make a change. We have to do the work. Even though the remedy is free, available, and immediately accessible, we have to take some kind of action to bring about the good which we wish to experience. So that good that Deborah was talking about. We have to take some responsibility in accepting it into our lives. You might have a grocery list of all the things that you would like to have. You might have a to-do list of all the things you'd like to do in your life. You might have a bucket list of all the things you'd like to experience. And all these lists have one common denominator, and that is you. You are the one who realizes all those things and brings them into manifestation. And you know, sometimes things just happen to fall into your lap. Things just happen to happen. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But generally, they all come to us as a result of some personal activity, either mentally or physically. They all come to us because of something we have done or some action we have taken to bring that about. And possibly because of some mental energy that we held consistently to bring it about. The point is, you need to take personal responsibility even while counting on spirit to do its part. Particularly when dealing with physical parameters, because we are here in this physical realm in which of limitation and lack and so on, and which God knows nothing about. We know it because we experience it here as expressions of God. But so therefore we have to take responsibility for those things which are happening to us. Treating is about shifting personal consciousness. It's laying the ground in your life experience for the change that you wish to see manifest. It's not directing God in what needs to happen in your life. It is conditioning ourselves to accept what is already our truth. It's already here. It's already a reality. It just hasn't been brought into our personal experience yet. We treat to change ourselves, not God or the world. Moving your feet is simply following through with the process. It's fulfilling our part of the bargain, doing our part of the creative process. And God says, your wish is my command, as they say in secret. Remember that? I read on the internet, this was quite relevant. It says, I can pray for increased income, and then I need to take steps to grow my business or get a job. I can pray for health, and then I need to follow guidance on healthy eating and exercise. I can pray for better work relationships, and then I need to listen to my inner knowing about what to do and to achieve that better relationship. It's all about making a personal change. It's all about taking personal responsibility in my life for that which I wish to experience. I can pray about it all day long, but until I actually follow through with the prayer and be able to either just accept it or to make it happen, it never comes to a conclusion. Breaking out of habitual behavior that has brought us the same old results in the past and moving into a shift of consciousness is what it's all about, doing our part. So, are you not exactly sure how to move your feet? Or in which direction to move your feet? Do you know what is yours to do? Do you really know? Balancing the doing and the being is what it's all about. You know that Frank Sinatra song, do-we-do-we-do. Maybe what is yours to do is simply to do more being. Maybe that's all it is. Ram Dass says, our whole spiritual transformation brings us to the point where we realize that in our being, we are enough. That's a big statement. We could do a whole talk about that, couldn't we? Moving your feet could be just a metaphor, not a literal directive. More likely it means to do your mental, spiritual work, do your spiritual practices to bring about that which you wish to experience. Robert Bitzer says, parallel action is always maintained between the inner plane of mind and the outer plane of manifestation. Basically what he's saying is the outer is a direct byproduct of the inner thought processes and the beliefs that we hold. So basically what we're talking about is balancing what is happening around us with what is happening within us. Seeing that that which is happening around us is a result of how we think. We are bringing about our reality. We are already moving our feet. And if you look around you, you'll see the action that you are taking. You're experiencing it already. Ernest Holmes says, there is a power in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. Now, isn't that a comforting idea? There's a power in the universe greater than you are. But here's the important part. You can use it. You must use it. Doesn't do us any good that there's a huge power available to us. We don't actually manipulate the process. It will work for you if you use it. It will not work for you in your stead and will not work without your initiation. It does not impose its power on you. It works with you. You are a co-creator. You must move your metaphysical feet, not just count on God to do all the heavy lifting. We are a part of the co-creative process, and so therefore we are an equal part of the process. And if we count on God to do all the work, very likely it's not going to come into fruition for us. The Bible says it's the Father's good will to give you the kingdom, but it's not the Father's obligation. It is not the Father's responsibility. It's a gift freely given, not imposed upon us. The gift is given. It's ours to accept.
So I really like that idea that David had. Maybe what is yours to do is to do more being. I was thinking, treat and move your feet. To me, those words had always meant that you had to take the action. And I think that's how they were written, because perhaps there were people not taking actions to follow their treatments. And the being may sometimes be more difficult to do than the doing. Some of us tend to be doers, and we want to have something to do all the time, and it's difficult to just sit and be and know truth and allow it to outpour. And then there are some of us sometimes that know what we should do, but we just don't take those actions. So I think it's important for us to realize in each circumstance, where do we fall? Because we may fall into the need for simply being as the doing, and we may fall in alignment in certain situations with needing to do something more, taking that responsibility that David spoke about. The more that we spend time in treatment, the easier it is for our mind to accept our truth and take part in the process. And remember, it's also important to start wherever you are on that path. Give yourself grace and allow yourself the time. What did Ernest Holmes say? The time, and let me go back to the very first one. Give yourself the time and the process time and the method necessary, whether it's being or doing, to practice the art of spiritual mind treatment. We do have handouts today with the spiritual mind treatment steps and some little ideas with them. And on the back side is our we believe statements. So we encourage you to take one of those when the love offering bowl is passed around. And we're going to end today with a prayer or a treatment from Reverend Kathleen Sibley. She is a licensed Science of Mind minister. And I invite you, if you would like to close your eyes and to just take in the magnificence of this treatment. It's entitled Celebrating the Works of God. There is one power and presence that is the universe. It is the power that pulls together atoms into elements and pulls together a team that can change the world. It is the power we call life. It takes all forms and inhabits them while remaining something more than the sum of the parts. We are those parts. We are the divine incarnation of life itself. That one power has one activity. It creates. It creates according to an identifiable pattern. All experience, all form, all beingness is the creation of this life energy. Whether we are a cashier or a brain surgeon, what we are doing is the activity of God. The divine being is doing its work in, through, and as each one of us. I speak my word for all beings everywhere, remembering that divine work may not be flashy, but is always joy-filled and prospers everyone. Spirit is supporting its own expression, whether that expression seems silly or serious, innovative or innate. Spirit is at work in each of us, uncovering our self-imposed nonsense and shining forth the glorious truth. A new and higher level of information is uploading. This information is the truth of Spirit. It works faster and better because its inherent divine nature. I am so grateful to celebrate the work of the divine. The kitten who stuck his head out at the right time to catch my attention this morning, the friend who showed up to help paint, and the neighbors I watched help each other clear away storm debris. I recognize the divine at work in all of these things. It's all God at work, and the works of God. What a beautiful truth. What a wonderful world. What an infinite good is God. I release this word knowing my part. The witnessing and the celebration is complete. The manifestation is the work of divine law, and it is already in process. I call it good and very good, and so it is. And so it is.